Alright, so this is a video I wanted to do about the idea of altered chords, and it's actually in response to a video I watched yesterday by a music educator who posts videos on YouTube and Facebook. I think his name is Jeff Antoniak. I'm not sure if that's the exact pronunciation, but he posts a lot of great videos, but this one got me thinking. It was about dealing with altered chords, kind of an introduction to soloing and thinking about altered chords. Maybe they're unfamiliar and we want to know how to work with them. And it got me thinking about my own, the way that I think about those chords and how I was first introduced to them, and how there's a lot of confusion around it that I think can be simplified and cleared up. So let's try it out. So first of all, the idea of altered chord, it's usually, at least in this context, we're talking about dominant seventh chords. So, and when we say altered, it's in relation to this idea of altering the extensions of the chords. So if you have a 9, you might lower the 9, have a flat 9, raise the 9, have a sharp 9. And that's thought of as altering those extensions. You might lower the 5th or raise the 5th, again, altering the extensions. And with the altered chord in particular, it's this idea of the possibility of altering maybe all of the extensions. So you might have voicing, for instance, say we have G7, basic G7 voicing, and then here's a G7 flat 9. So here's 9, then flat 9, here's sharp 9. So there's the idea of altering that 9, but I actually don't think of it that way, but I'll come back to that in a second. Then also up here, so there's 13, and then we might lower that. That's an alteration, or perhaps you could think of it as a raised 5th, or a flat 5th. And you can combine that with the 9s, the altered 9s, all those types of things. But the idea of alteration in that context really only makes sense if you're just looking at the chord by itself. But what I prefer to do is actually think about it in relation to the key that we're in. So this chord, is that an altered dominant chord, or is it just a 5 chord in C minor? That's how I think of it. It's 5 chord in C minor. So it goes from here, G7, resolving to C minor. Actually, it can also resolve to C major just as well, like this. Sounds like it's going to resolve to minor because it has those notes from the minor scale in there. But those notes will still resolve, but instead of resolving that one from down to the flat third of the minor chord, I'm going to resolve it to the major third, so like this. Right, so that works just as well. It's a little bit deceptive, maybe unexpected, but it works just as well. So in terms of what to play over the chord, over the 5 chord, you want to call it the altered chord, and you'll see it on charts a lot of times. This will be written as G7 alt. And what does that mean? It's it's a shorthand, and so when we see that, maybe some people would then often talk about associating it with the so-called altered scale, which is a mode of the melodic minor scale, 7th mode of the melodic minor scale. And you can do that and get cool sounds. The reason why I'm hesitant to use that is because I want to think about the chords in relationship to the key that we're in. So if we're saying that this is a 5 chord in the key of C minor, then I want to draw on melodic material from the key. I don't want to think of superimposing some other scale, some kind of artificially imposed scale based on some theoretical concept. I actually want to just think in terms of playing in C minor. So if I'm going to solo over it, say that's my left hand voicing, over the top of that, so that's G7, and then I'm just going to play C minor ideas over the top of that. So just thinking C minor over the G7. A couple other thoughts about that, a couple other ideas. And then if I was going to resolve it to major, I would still think over this G7, I would still think C minor. But then when it resolves, just resolve to C major, no problem. So it's like the G7, the 5 chord, it's the 5 of C minor, but then it resolves in a way that's slightly different than expected to the major. It works great. And the other thing I like about it is it's gets back to the idea of thinking vocally. So if you were just to sing scat solo over this kind of sound, figure out what that was. Resolving to major, right? So when I sing a line, the line that comes to mind is a line from the key. It's not from the altered scale. So just think about it as 5 coming from minor. Play that minor over both the 5 chord and the 1 chord. It's simple. Check it out. Thank you.